Hi there, my name is Chris Coltrane and this is the News for Idiots. This is my new show where I take a light-hearted look at the week's news. I've wanted to start this series for a while, always thought it would be fun to make a YouTube series that takes a sideways look at the week's events. Lots of light-hearted fun, silly little japes and most importantly some good old-fashioned, rib-tickling, news-based hilarity. Now, why don't we take a cheeky little look and see what gentle mischief the world of politics has in store for us this week.
Well, it appears that the British public are increasingly in favour of British operations to bomb Islamic State in Syria.
46% agree, 32% disagree.
For fuck's sake, I didn't want this to... I just wanted to make a little silly fun show about the news. I didn't expect it to be like... This is the worst. I mean, I understand that there are people that have it worse than me in the world at the moment, but for fuck's sake, I just wanted to make a silly little fun show about how funny it is when Boris falls down a tripwire and Michael Gove slips over in the road. I didn't expect it to be like this. Well, it looks like the first episode of my new fun light-hearted show is going to be about death, war and ISIS. Hooray! So, according to one poll on the ever-tedious Sky News, some Brits support bombing Syria, some don't, some have no idea, and there's like a 15% margin between the numbers. It's weird how stats that don't really tell you anything can somehow also fully make you despair for the state of your country. Thing is though, when people say yes to airstrikes, these polls never follow up with a question about what we should do once we've bombed Syria. Well, as it happens, I actually did my own poll today outside Tesco's. Of all the people that said yes to airstrikes, 23% said bomb them again just for fun, 40% said force them to be Christian, 15% said dunno lol, and the rest just kept screaming the word Donald Trump while shooting their guns into the air.
That same poll, 2/3 of Britons say killing British citizens in Syria is justified if they've joined ISIS. So the Prime Minister will be heartened by those.
Or at least David Cameron would if he actually had a heart, rather than a robot motherboard with a broken empathy chip. Will Corbyn be heartened though, or will he pull his usual trick of being thoughtful and nuanced?
This is going to be very complicated because clearly there is a multi-directional civil war in Syria between the Assad government and various opposition forces, as well as ISIL, as well as the position that the Kurds are trying to...
Boring! You're being boring, Corbyn. Look, stop trying to suggest that this massively complicated clusterfuck can't be fixed by just dropping bombs on everyone, because it obviously can. Think about it. If you bomb everyone, there'll be no one left to hate the West. What part of this do you not understand?
We need also to move very fast on sanctions against the banking and other supporters for ISIL.
Oh, God, it makes you sick, doesn't it? When these leftists come along with their alternatives to war and their potential solutions that could severely damage the power of ISIS while also keeping the death toll to a minimum. Oh, typical weak, wet, left wimpy bastards. Why don't you take your books and your research and fuck off back to Russia with Putin, who also hates war? I'm confused. Suppose you're going to start quoting lessons from the past now as well, are you?
The experience of Afghanistan, Iraq and Libya has convinced many of our own people that the elite's enthusiasm for endless military interventions has only multiplied the threats to all of us.
Look, just because every single time in our entire history that we've ever dropped bombs on the Middle East, it's turned out to be an unmitigated disaster, with a massive death toll, unaccountable numbers of injured, and has only helped to increase extremism and instability, what makes you think that it will be the case this time too? You're living in a dream world, Corbyn. Of course we have to do something. We can't just sit by and watch all of this happen, but how stupid that this even needs to be said. Doing something doesn't mean that we should just do anything. There are some things that might actually make things worse. Adding violence to violence is fucking risky. It's like if your cat was on fire and you tried to put it out by throwing more cats on the fire. Like, it might work. It might smother the fire, or it might create a bonfire of cats. Great name for a metal band, terrible idea for a peace strategy. While we were there, Sky News also told us what the polls were saying.
42% Conservative, 27% Labour, Lib Dem 7, but look, UKIP 15.
Well, if the general election was anything to go by, then that poll actually probably means that the Tories are now ahead by 130%. Do you know what? I hate British people. I hate them. I know I shouldn't, but When you read about what this government is doing to our NHS, to schools, to disabled people, to the things that they let tax dodgers get away with, to what the Tories are doing to the Freedom of Information Act, to the things they're doing to the way that the voting boundaries work, to the way that they're silencing charities from criticising what the government is doing, if you know about all of those things and you still want to vote for them, you don't deserve nice things. And if you think I sound a little bit anti-democratic there, well, I'm not the only person in the UK that is a little bit anti-democratic.
2 in 5 British adults agree Labour MPs should mount a coup and remove Jeremy Corbyn as party leader.
I'd go one further. I think we should get Corbyn and stuff him in a missile along with all his books and his facts and his calm measured responses and drop him on ISIS.
I don't think we should start on the presumption of airstrikes. We should start on the issue of the political future of Syria. I think we have to be very careful of making any decisions or predictions at this stage.
Look, it can be really easy to panic at times like this. The world is a complicated and intense and broken place. It's so complicated that sometimes I even see news stories where I would normally know my opinion straight away, but it makes me think twice, like this.
You know, the police announced today that they are going to ban any mass protests, any marches, at least until the end of this month. And that timing coincides with the start of that big climate change conference. Over 100 world leaders coming to Paris. Clearly a major security issue for the authorities here.
Banning the right to protest? Usually I'd say no way, that is terrible, especially for something as important as the Paris climate talks, where protest is the only chance that normal people who aren't a multi-billion-pound oil company actually get a chance to have their voice heard. Normally I'd say no way, but after attacks like this, do they have a point? My instinct is to say yeah, because my instinct is a fucking moron. Luckily, something usually comes along that knocks me back to reality.
Also, the police will be able to raid houses without warrants.
Ah, so it is a bullshit idea. My mistake. Sorry. Though, in fairness, I think Francois Hollande wasn't actually taking away anyone's liberty. I think he just wanted the right to be able to use anyone's toilet in France without having to knock on their front door first. Little perk of the job, you know what I mean? Sometimes the news is just so desperately sad, the threat so imminent that it makes you think against your own interests. I'm going to say this now. Maybe airstrikes are the right idea. I mean, I don't think they are. I don't think they are based on the fact that BAE Systems are yet to release their ISIS-only bomb, which somehow kills the bad guys while also leaving all of the innocent civilians unharmed and alive and unkilled and free of lifelong permanent post-traumatic stress disorder. My point is that it's not enough to just drop bombs. Syria is one of the most complicated situations in human history. Many countries have a stake. Many factions within those countries are vying for power. The situation today is a result of awful decisions by the British and the French a century ago when they were deciding arbitrary borders. You can't fix a problem like that by just dropping bombs and going, lol, fixed. We need more than that. We need an actual plan. And when your leaders can't tell you what their long-term strategy is, you know that they're just thirsty for war, and that is bullshit. Especially when pricks like this are friends with pricks like this. Support war if you like, just understand what the consequences will be, because believe me when I say this, your leaders do not have a fucking clue. Hey, so that was episode 1. Thank you very much for giving it a go. This is my first attempt at making a thing like this, so it's probably a bit rough around the edges, but I hope you liked it. It's a dark time to be doing political comedy, it really is, but I hope it brought you some joy. I'd really like to make this look better and buy a proper camera and proper lights, so if you'd like to help support me, go to chriscoltrane.com, hit that donate button, also hit the subscribe button, share it around, tell your friends. Don't leave a comment below because I've turned comments off because YouTube comments are universally garbage. But I would love you to get in contact with me, and until next time, cheers.